Resolved, the United States federal government should forgive all federal student loan debt. Before beginning, it is best to establish key terms. Federal student debt refers to money with interest college students owe after borrowing the federal governments to fund their education. Forgive all means that the federal government will not take back any of that money from anyone. In light of current events circa the Honorable President Joe Biden's forgiveness plans, it is important to note that the resolution is not a copy of his plans, because again, it proposes forgiving all federal student loan debt. First, I affirm the resolution. Condition 1. Freeing students of debt allows them to reach their full potential and create a better economy for the United States. Debt hinders students who study from reaping the benefits of their hard work. The Meeting Street Scholarship Fund 2022 states that it has been shown in studies that students with greater debt were more likely to stay in lower paying jobs and take risks seeking other career opportunities that may offer higher salary or better benefits, and less likely to start their own businesses or pursue their preferred career path. This is detrimental to the United States economy because the educated have more resources to start businesses, solve problems, and stimulate economic growth. That is a major purpose of getting a college education, yet it is not happening because of debt. Therefore, those some argue the resolution would harm working-class Americans, allowing students to be free of debt actually creates more job opportunities. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics 2022 says the United States' recent experiences with COVID have made 11.4 million people out of 18.1 unemployed, 63% to be exact, unable to work because their employer closed or lost business due to the pandemic. That means that workers need new employers and businesses to make a living for themselves and their families. Education Data Initiative 2023 states that canceling student loan debt may add up to 1.5 new million jobs, but would-be entrepreneurs are 11% less likely to start a new business if they owe more than $30,000 in student loan debt. So if the federal government were to remove the obstacle and forgive all federal student loan debt, the economy would be stimulated by educated entrepreneurs and dedicated workers. Contention 2. Forgiving student loan debt would help create racial equality in the America's future. Sharon Chenier, Arizona State University sociologist 2023, states that higher education is getting increasingly more expensive because Black households tend to have less wealth. A greater number have to borrow money to get a degree, and the amounts they are borrowing are larger than those of their white counterparts. So, Black families who already make less money on average will have to pay more interest to the federal government while having to pay greater loans. This dilemma is intensified as the Education Data Initiative 2023 states that white college graduates have over 7 times the amount of wealth than Black college graduates, meaning Black college students are charged more interest due to their extended loans just to earn less money after college. The Federal Reserve reports that as of 2023, the typical Black family went from having about $9 in wealth for every 100 held by the typical white family in 2013 to around $16 in 2022. The typical Hispanic family went from having about $10 in net wealth from every 100 held by the typical white family in 2013 to around $22 in 2022. Over the past 10 years, barely any progress has been made. If all federal student loan debt is forgiven, it would give everyone equal opportunity and enforce America's ideas about meritocracy. Contingent free. Forgiving student debt would improve mental health across the country. Subboard 1. The United States is in a mental health crisis. Mental Health America, Inc. 2022. The percentage of adults reporting suicides is 12.1 million adults. Statista 2023, 37% of U.S. adults have felt more anxious during 2023 than 2022. And Centers of Disease Control and Prevention 2023 states that the age-standardized prevalence of depression among U.S. adults was 18.5%. Age-specific prevalence of depression was high amongst those aged 18 to 24 years old. Note that most college students are between the ages of 18 and 24 years old. Subword 2. Increasing college prices and student debt contribute to the mental health crisis. Meeting Street Scholarship 2022. According to the Gallup-Purdue University study, college graduates with no student loans debts reported higher levels of happiness and were more successful in their personal and professional lives compared to students with debt. Scientific America 2023. Another study published in April 2023 in the journal Addictive Behaviors followed 331 college graduates and linked high debt levels with problematic drinking, anxiety, and depression, especially amongst the most economically insecure graduates. In some cases, borrowers even expressed suicidal thoughts. Furthermore, student debt owners are left more vulnerable because Ackerman psychologist Watson shares that loans force couples to delay major milestones such as getting married, buying homes, and having kids until much later than originally planned. Student loans serve as a barrier when you're trying to build a life. That means that there is less of a support system for students who are already shown to have the highest reports of suicidal thoughts. To conclude, if America's educated cannot seek or create financial opportunities, and even when educated, one will be followed by debt if from a poor background, as many minorities are, then America loses its power as a meritocracy. If young minds are being driven to suicide by factors like debt, which the government could but refuses to assist in paying, it is failing to guarantee the pursuit of happiness. For these reasons, I affirm the resolution. Now I negate the resolution. Contention 1. Nothing is being alleviated or forgiven. The responsibility to pay loans is just shifting from individuals who decided on taking them to all Americans. Subword 1. The United States will fall deeper into debt. For reference, the United States has already passed $33 trillion in debt. The U.S. Department of Education estimates that one-time student debt relief will cost an average of $30 billion a year over the next decade. When that is adjusted to present-day dollar values, the total cost becomes about $379 billion. Granted, this could worsen as the department states these estimates are based on highly uncertain assumptions about future economic conditions of the United States and participation rates. And if affirming the resolution, they will worsen since it calls to forgive all federal student loan debt, not just some. PGDF 2023 states that a nation saddled with debt will have less to invest in its own future. Rising debt means that fewer economic opportunities for Americans. Rising debt reduces business investments and slows economic growth. It also increases expectations of higher rates of inflation and erosion of confidence in the U.S. dollar. So, national debt will hurt U.S. citizens. Subword 2. Further inflation will occur. Whenever experts use monetary or fiscal theory to analyze inflation causes, MIT graduate Coach Ryan states that both theories say if the government puts up $5 trillion and writes people checks, which is basically what we did in the pandemic, you're going to get inflation. Too much money, too much government debt, no plan for repaying debt. If U.S. debt increases, so will inflation. Another way of affirming the resolution would increase inflation is student spending. Having that shock where you see that bill comes to them is going to affect their spending. Jones, a UC college professor, shares. Just last month, we saw some of the highest consumer spending numbers in 2 years. So I think there's a real concern among economists. Is this going to create more of an inflationary problem? This data is not just numbers, it impacts all Americans. Inflation hurts U.S. citizens. Walter Coors, May 2023, says that inflation can increase costs for businesses, which can lead to higher prices for consumers. This can make it more difficult for businesses to compete and can lead to lower profits. Furthermore, inflation, according to the Tax Foundation, not only resembles a tax, it impacts them too. It can push taxpayers into higher income tax brackets or reduce the value of tax credits, deductions, and exemptions. This is known as a bracket creep, which results in an increase in income tax without an increase in real income. To conclude, a statement from the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, 2022. Cancellation would not erase the amount of student debt owed, but would rather shift the liability from individuals' balance sheets to the federal government's, that is, taxpayers' balance sheets. Contention 2. This plan is socially unjust as it disproportionately impacts Americans. It punishes hardworking Americans. Census Bureau states that as of 2021, about 62% of the American population ages between 18 to 24 were enrolled in college. That leaves 48% of people aged 18 to 24 people who would not benefit in affirming the resolution, but suffer, including those outside of the range 18 to 24. Association of Public Land-Grant Universities states that on an annual basis, median earnings for bachelor's degree holders are $36,000 or 84% higher than those whose highest degree is a high school diploma. The earnings gap between college graduates and those with less education continues to widen. That means that the low-income majority of the U.S. population will have to pay higher taxes to allow forgiveness for students who will inevitably make more money than them. Then, as outlined in my first contention, inflation will rise, further disadvantaging our working class, as International Labor Organization 2022 reports show that rising inflation has a greater cost of living impact on lower income earners. This is because they spend most of their disposable income on essential goods and services, which generally experience higher price increases than non-essential items. There is no good reason to force low-income Americans who are already struggling to keep up with taxes to pay for those who will receive more financial opportunities in the long run. Not to mention the injustice being done to the Americans who have paid their own debt or received scholarships through their own hard work. Contention 3. The resolution is a short-term solution, and thus I propose a counterplan. If students are simply bailed out, nothing is being done about underlying causes of rising college prices. That means prices will continue to rise. Higher loans will be taken, and eventually making national debt worse to forgive student debt won't be an option. A counterplan for supporting students without the repercussions shown in Contention 1 and 2 is the FAIR Act. It is a counterplan outlined in the bill written by the Senate and House of Representatives in Congress united. This plan protects taxpayers and working class of Americans by ensuring that nothing like $379 billion or more can be given without the Congress, as in the Supreme Court has already decided in June that the Honorable President Joe Biden does not have the authority to do under the HERO Act. It also streamlines the web of confusing IDR plans so there's less miscommunication and streamlines It also streamlines the web of confusing IDR plans so that there is less miscommunication, interest, and that students aren't pressured by time-based forgiveness. The plan accounts for COVID effects on this class of college students by keeping the FSA accountable for communicating with students and implementing reliable end-use plans. Lastly, this plan requires students to report their income and establish suitable plans and allows for temporary postponement of monthly payments when students are in school, financially troubled, serving in the military, or paying for for medical treatment plans such as cancer deferment. All of the above information is from the House Committee on Education and Labor, 2023. This plan is better than the resolution because it takes individual cases into account to support each student while avoiding impulsive financial decisions that unfairly impact the rest of America. The FAIR Act is a better solution for students and workers. For these reasons, I negate the resolution.